Trauma is any experience that you have been through where there is a held charge within your energy body, within your physical body, that has not yet been fully unraveled and integrated. When you start to deepen in your trauma work, you start to unlock this charge. This is a potency, it's a life force. Trauma is a gift because as you start unwrapping, you unlock this energy and you can use it for something more harmoniously aligned with your life. Often these gifts are delivered through pain because it's a way to get your attention. If you were not in pain, you wouldn't be attentive to yourself. When you do not attend to your pain for a long time, you start to develop disconnection and numbness because you haven't paid attention. People are often scared of admitting that there's trauma there because they're not feeling ready to go into painful memories. The real tragedy is not actually the trauma. The real tragedy is when you turn away from it and you don't allow yourself to heal and to receive what is inherently trying to find you, your highest potential, your life force. What are some of the signs of unhealed trauma? Most of the time when I get clients that come to me, often they arrive with a list of scattered symptoms. At the physical level, there will often be chronic pain that has persisted beyond any type of treatment, usually for several years. That's one of the key signs that it's not a purely mechanical issue. There's something deeper that needs to be realized and released so that charge can be reintegrated back into the body. At a physical level, fundamentally feeling uncomfortable in your own body, especially women who have been through abuse and sexual abuse, there's an inherent discomfort and feeling of not wanting to be in the physical body. It's kind of disgusting to me, or it repels me out. The body doesn't feel like a place where I belong. Another thing I've noticed is a sense of fatigue. I'm doing yoga, I'm meditating, I'm doing all these things, but I don't have energy. I feel depleted. I can't get things done. Our ability to flow through life and to feel energized is connected to not just our physical body, our adrenal system, it's also based on what we're holding emotionally. Energy goes into suppressing trauma. It's like a big box and the lid gets put on and the lid is sealed and then more stuff gets put on top of the lid. That box starts to hold a lot of energy, right? Trauma work is about starting to unlock safely, peel back the layers and start to build a relationship with that box and then start to go inside and feel. The final thing is spinal alignment. Every day I am realigning spines. I cannot stress enough the importance of your spine, your midline. If you cannot be in your spine, you do not exist. You cannot know yourself if you are not in your spine. One day you'll find yourself over here, the next day you'll find yourself over here. You don't know where home is. A sign of unresolved trauma is either not knowing where the midline is or knowing where it is but not being able to access it. I see the whole spine shifted in extreme cases, or it can be parts of the spine, so the lumbar spine, for example, or the cervical spine, areas where the spine is holding a big charge, and that big charge, if it's unaddressed, creates instability. Spinal misalignment is a huge indicator of unresolved trauma. It is not an accident that your spine is so deeply misaligned. And we all have work to do to stay more deeply and to find more deeply that midline and to stay there. If you can't feel your spine, chances are you're numb. And then sometimes you can feel the spine, but you can't feel deeply enough. You can't rest back in your spine. You're kind of holding yourself up like that through life. You don't trust your own midline to rest back. When this trauma is unresolved, it leads to chronic conditions, diseases, illnesses. It leads to conditions that doctors will tell you cannot be healed. They can be healed, but you have to go to the root cause. You have to be willing to see. You can only heal what you're willing to see and feel. If you want to break out of your own box, you have to do trauma work. People don't think about, oh, my gut health and my indigestion issues might be trauma related, or my backache might be trauma related. The somatic paradigm is not yet fully integrated into medicine, although it is becoming more and more prevalent. So there's an inherent disconnection from being able to feel. That's often because the sensation held in the body is so highly charged because of the trauma that it's very difficult to access a feeling state, because immediately you start to feel pain. And you go, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that. So I'll just float through life. One end of the extreme scale. At the same end of the extreme scale is all I do is feel complete and utter grief, anger, devastation, hopelessness, confusion. I'm constantly feeling sad. That's a big one. So the emotions can either be non-existent or very extreme, very unstable. One day I feel good. I feel like I'm flowing. I feel like I'm in a good place. And the next day I feel completely terrible about myself. I feel sad. And then the next day I feel like, oh yeah, I'm okay again. That's another sign that there's unresolved trauma, because you have so much flux in your system, you cannot be still. That flux is your trauma trying to come through. Later down the line, you have other symptoms of emotional trauma. And they can often look like being able to access a feeling, but not fully knowing why it's there or being able to do anything about it. The issue with that is you can stay in that place for a really long time. And there's a need to go deeper into really starting to resolve the sadness and really starting to allow it to show you what it's deeply connected with. The emotional inner world is vibrant and very alive when it's allowed, and very intelligent. And this is emotional intelligence, and we hear this a lot, but very few people are emotionally intelligent. Then you'll hear this, I'm so anxious, I've got anxiety. The medical model has profited from this somatic and emotional disconnection. This label of anxiety has become medicalized. It's a disconnection from what the actual underlying emotions are. And I notice that people who say this a lot, when I ask them, beneath the anxiety, what kind of emotions are there for you? What do you feel? They don't know. That I've never thought of that. Anxiety and depression are not conditions. You cannot treat anxiety. You cannot treat depression. At the root cause, they are symptoms of unresolved emotions, unresolved trauma. Charge coming through the body. You have to work with the body. This is the reason why I didn't continue with talking therapy training, psychotherapy, because I was seeing people who were traumatized talking about trauma and nothing's being resolved. The body is the same. The body is still holding all of that charge. And then I started to read about body psychotherapy, and I realized that the body is speaking all the time. It's intelligent, it's responding, and it's trying to release and free you. Working with the body is one of the most powerful ways that you can start to heal unresolved trauma, and working with the energy field, because the body is a symptom of the vibrational field, and you can recreate that. It is possible to heal. I do this every single day. I show people that it is possible to actually heal unresolved trauma, but we have to first find the trauma, first find the emotions. We have to be able to feel, go there. That can be scary because feeling is new and feeling is potentially dangerous, and feeling might unlock all these emotions and feeling might trigger all these memories, and you might be feeling grief forever. That's a lot of the worries and the fear that people have. Well, if I start to get close to that big box, and I start to open and I start to feel, what then? It's better to keep the lid closed. How in touch you are with your emotional world, how in touch you are with why you feel the way you feel. If you start to look for patterns in your emotional world, you'll start to notice some of your patterns, your emotional patterns, might be lifestyle related, might be to do with your relationships, might be to do with your diet as well. Recognizing emotional patterns of connection, of disconnection, of disharmony can bring you closer to understanding trauma and being able to heal. The people that come for trauma work, that are unable to express any emotion, unable to feel, unable to cry, unwilling to express the rage that's surging through their body. This is also very common because they've never been given permission to safely express. There's always been a consequence. Imagine this can happen as a baby. Baby goes to cry, can feel mother's already irritated, mother's already angry. And then it will slowly learn. I don't get love when I express what's coming through me. I get abandoned, I get a vibration of anger, I get met with disconnection. I inherently feel like I'm doing something bad. Therefore, when I express myself, I must be bad. The fear around emotional expression is really one thing that I'm passionate about because it has to be allowed. You can rapidly speed up your process if you allow yourself to express your emotions. Emotions are just charge. Charge has to move. If you want to keep it all and hold it all, you'll feel it. If you want to start to slowly allow it to be shared, allow it to come through you, just like everything in this world is flowing, you too will flow. Everything is fluidic, everything is flowing. So if you are stagnant holding these emotions, you are actually resisting the laws of nature. When you resist the laws of nature, you start to feel unnatural. You start to feel disconnected from nature, and you are nature. You are here to move and be moved, especially women. We are inherently creatures of flow. We are inherently creatures that are designed to dance. And when you stop dancing within, it creates such a deep grief. We're now working at soul level grief. Doing spiritual things, in inverted commas, but still not feeling how you imagine you could be. You're able to touch on something fleeting beyond you, but then the next day, everything's the same. Back to where you started. People who have discovered spirituality feel like this is now a haven for them. You can do all of the spiritual activities, but if you don't do them from within your own heart, for yourself, if you do them from your mind, you'll be brought back to the heart. Other ways that unresolved trauma can manifest spiritually is when your spiritual connection starts to become associated with external entities. Your sense of spiritual intelligence starts to become associated with other people, substances, other higher light beings, anything external to you. If you were strong enough and resourced enough, you will not need to project power. It's so beyond, it's run so deep through humanity to project personal power outwards. Oh, my guides decide that. My spirit guides decide that. I leave that to God. That's not for me. It's not for me to look at. When people derive power from anything that is not their own highest self, there will always be a slight kink in the connection, in the spiritual connection. And that kink is so subtle. Why? It's so subtle, but yet it's so potent. Because to iron out that kink energetically requires having enough consistent, grounded, yet transcendent spiritual experiences that remind you of your inherent power, which is why we're here to live. So that kink gets ironed out through many lifetimes. Yeah? And that kink you'll also find in your spine. We're all here on a journey to discover one within. For people who are seeking power from other people, other promises, other entities, I get all my information from Mary Magdalene. She does the healing through me. Babaji does the healing through me. What are you talking about? The projection is very easy to start projecting outwards. And what you're doing is disconnecting yourself from what you are. Because your ego is there. Your ego is so strongly there. So where else in your life have you done that? Where else have you projected your power and given it to someone else? Because you can't fully understand it, own it, embody it, take responsibility and accountability for it every single day. Yeah? Because to say I am is a responsibility, not a privilege. It's a responsibility to yourself. You will always be the hardest person in the world to serve. You. You serving yourself will always be the most challenging thing and the most beautiful. You serving yourself. Where people have learned at a very young age, it's safer to serve something else. Well, if they get it wrong, it was them, right? Well, I called on Archangel Michael to come and clear that person's liver. So if it didn't get cleared, it's not me, right? This happens a lot in the healing world. I don't want to look at my trauma because I've discovered this really powerful mantra. And if I can sit and recite the mantra, which I've seen on YouTube or which I've been given as a transmission, that's it. I don't have to look at anything or understand anything. I don't have to feel. It's tragic. If you want to know about mantras, mantras are vibrational weavings. If you can't feel, you can sit and recite for your entire life. You have to feel. You have to feel it. Feeling is healing. I say that time and time again. That's my mantra. Feeling is healing. You cannot heal what you are unwilling to feel. And there's depths. So when I work with people who sometimes say, well, I've felt this before. I've talked about this before. I've felt it before. Well, why is it? And they say, why am I having to do this again? Why am I still here talking about this? Well, you tell me why. You wouldn't be talking about it if you couldn't feel it. If it wasn't resonating within you, you wouldn't be feeling it. It's like an onion. You're peeling layers and you're getting to the core. You keep going through until you've seen everything you've needed to see, felt it all, integrated it, and received the gift. Wisdom comes through experience. Wisdom is the path of trauma work. It's inherently woven beneath all of the trauma, wisdom. You cannot have wisdom if you are not doing deep trauma work because you simply will not know yourself. What you know will be based on experiences that you've read about, experiences that you've seen other people go through, but here you don't know yourself, your own personal wisdom. The stage below wisdom, even deeper, is revelation. You want to be revealed to. You want to be a channel. This is what you are here to be. It requires you to clean the drains, to be empty, to allow flow. Most people are more concerned with cleaning. They'll keep the drains in their house cleaner than they'll keep their inner drains. Then they'll keep their lymphatic system. Then they'll keep their glymphatic system. Then they'll keep their emotional flow. Most people are more concerned about the structure of their house. Their drains will be clearer than their bodies. That's the tragedy. People often think, it's not loving right now for me to explore my trauma, for me to heal my trauma, for me to go to therapy. I have a job to do. I have children to feed. I'm busy trying to keep my head above water. It's not a loving thing for me to do, to go and open that big black box. I'll ask you what your definition of love is, who you're really loving, if you cannot love yourself enough to go there. Because until you do, the whole world will just show you what you're holding. Why? The whole world is here for you, to show you what you're holding so that you can free yourself. And everywhere you turn, you'll see it. This is why cycles repeat. This is why history repeats. This is why transgenerational trauma repeats. Because you will constantly be shown until you make a change. When I work with my clients and I ask them about not just their trauma, but what exactly was going on with their parents, what was going on with their parents, tell me about your ancestral picture. Time and time again, the same themes, the same themes. You're being shown how to make change. You're being invited to become more empowered. You're being invited to not repeat history. Until you know you can meet any pain, any trial, and integrate it in order to reveal its purpose and teaching. Until you're no longer afraid of what you might feel. And you say, give me more, let me feel more. And then my journey became one of feeling and recognizing emotion, feeling and recognizing body sensations, somatic experience, trauma, feeling, until I got to the point where I was like, I recognized what I was being shown. Life is a journey of endless feeling. It doesn't end. You don't just fall into a pit of feeling. That's why you need a guide. That's why people go into plant medicine ceremonies and they come out and they're like, I was traumatized by that. Because they didn't have a guide. They just dumped into feel. Nobody can see what's happening to them. My job is to help you to go deep enough into each charge to release the energy back into your system in a way that it can flow, i.e. to release and allow you to tune into not just the pain, but the wisdom. There's always wisdom there. Otherwise, you can sit in therapy for years, churning through pain, churning through old stories over and over again. And then eventually you drop out because you go, you know what? I'm talking about all this painful stuff and nothing's changing in my life. You will not know what you're growing into because it's beyond your mind. Your mind is encaged, enslaved, and boxed up. And your heart is boxed up. So how could you possibly know what you're capable of? It's beyond your wildest dreams. And my clients that do that work and go there and consistently stay in the stream to be shown, to see, they do become beyond their wildest dreams. And they do say, I don't even recognize myself anymore. Not only do I not know who this person feels like because she's so new, I never in a million years even imagined I could feel like this. I didn't even dare to dream it. Healing is possible. It's a personal journey. This is life-changing work if you really are committed to going in and going deep. If you just want to get back to normal, don't come to see me. I don't do back to normal. I don't do back to pain states. I don't do back to ego.